Hey, what's up everyone? It's Ben. Thanks for watching the Sore Skater Studio. Today's video is a quick few poses to help open up the hips and loosen up the hips, help the legs recover from soreness. So I would recommend doing these poses after a skate sesh as a cool down, not so much as a warm up. It'll be good after you've been active and you're ready to kind of recover. Or if there's a day where you're not going to do too much active stuff at all and you just want to give your body a little bit of movement and maybe help recover from the other active stuff you've been doing throughout the week, this will be helpful. So for this session, you will want to have access to a wall where you can kind of lay down for a little space. You just want a little space for yourself near a wall to lay down. And yeah, that's it. Like I said, it's mainly about opening up the hips, and it can also help relieve soreness in the legs. So our first posture is going to be a lizard posture. Now you'll kind of start off in a sort of like a kneeling lunge position. You can put your hands next to your front foot like so. Your back knee is on the ground, and your back toes can be untucked for this since it's more restful. So you can just kind of let the foot rest flat on the ground like that. Let's start with our right foot up in front. And what you're going to do is you're going to crawl your foot a little bit toward the right and then a little bit forward. So it only has to be a few inches in each direction. You can also think of it as just crawling a few inches diagonally and forward. And you get yourself there. My back foot is poking my skateboard, so I'm going to crawl up a little further with my whole body. And once you're here, you can let your head kind of dangle, let your neck relax. Support yourself with your hands on the ground, as well as your right foot and your back leg. And just rest here. We're not going to try too hard to push flexibility in any way. This is just sort of like a resting lunge. You'll probably feel some stretching through the back leg. So your left leg right now, feeling some opening in the back hip. And you may also feel a stretch on the inside of the right thigh. And just breathe slower and deeper than you normally do. See if you can make your breath even, inhaling for the same amount of time that you exhale. Relaxing into this posture. On each out breath, see if you can relax the hips a little more forward. So you will want to keep the front knee directly above the front ankle. You don't really want to let that front knee come way out in front like this. But see if you can have both hips just sink forward a little bit. And you could even imagine both hips sinking forward and toward the left hand, so almost forward and diagonally. And the emphasis is more on letting the left hip, so the back hip, sink forward on each exhale. But you're just allowing that to happen. You're not forcing it. If your hips want to do that on the exhales, then allow them to. And we'll just be here for a couple more breaths. And when you're ready, we'll switch sides. So now we come to a kneeling lunge with the left foot in front. We'll crawl that left foot out to the left a little bit and then also forward a little bit. Allowing our head to droop, our neck to relax. Supporting ourselves with the hands, the foot, and the back leg. Breathing deep, slow, and in control. Seeing if we can just allow the hips to sink forward a little bit with each exhale. One side may feel different than the other. So for me, now that we're on this side, I just crawled my right leg a little bit backward because my right leg is longer and I needed to do that to get the same sensation of stretch throughout the right hip and the right leg. Once again, we're not looking to force that stretch, but I could barely feel anything, and so it felt like the right adjustment to make to crawl my right knee back just a little bit so that I could allow the right hip to sink forward, which will open that back hip as well as stretch the back thigh. But if there are differences on each side, you can just let them be. You don't have to do anything about them as long as it's comfortable and it doesn't hurt. Just notice if there's a more intense stretch on one side than the other. Still letting the whole body relax, allowing the hips to sink a little more forward on the exhale. Seeing if you can let go of engagement through the front leg. And allow yourself to just relax into this posture. We'll go for 3 or 4 more breaths here because we spent a good amount of time on that first side. Maybe the hips here are sinking forward and toward the right. That might help you create that sensation of openness through the back leg, back hip. And we'll come out of that as long as you're satisfied and ready. Now for our next posture, we're going to use the wall to help us. So lie down near the wall and start by pressing or just resting your right foot on the wall. And then we'll rest the left ankle on top of the right thigh like this, kind of right above the right knee. You can keep your hands maybe on your stomach, your chest, or just put them out to the side. And there's Pascal. Welcome, Pascal. And just breathe here. And on each exhale, use the left hip to open up just slightly. So we're going to breathe in, relax the whole body. Breathe out and open that left leg a little bit with the left hip. It's a light movement. You don't need to make it too intense. But ideally, we can create a nice sense of stretch in the left hip, maybe opening in the lower back around that area by rotating that hip to open that leg to the side. If your knee is feeling unstable at all, then don't go quite as deep. And you can also flex your left toes back toward the left knee. That can help stabilize the left leg a little bit. But you don't want to feel any instability in the knee or any pinching in the lower back. So if you do, just make it less intense. Don't open so much through the left hip. You might not be ready. But if it feels good to do so, and you can feel that opening, that stretching, and it's within your comfort and feels pleasant, then do that. We'll just stay here for a few breaths. Once again, breathing in to relax. Breathing out to open that left hip a little more, rotating the leg outward. And then we'll switch sides. So now the left foot will be on the wall. We'll cross the right leg over, putting the right ankle above the left knee and the left hip. If you do feel any discomfort in the neck or the head, you can get yourself a pillow, or like I got this rolled up yoga mat, so you could rest your head on that to help yourself out. But if your head and your neck feel fine, your back feels fine, then you could rest on the floor. Here, once again, hands can rest on the stomach or on your side, or you could even just kind of lay back in your hands like this. Breathing in to relax, slow, deep, in control. You want to get out of here, Pascal, I'll help you out. And then when you breathe out, use that right hip to rotate the right leg a little bit outward, creating a stretch through the right hip. So there is light activity in the right hip right now, with the intention to create a stretch. Once again, don't go so deep that your knee feels unstable. And if you do want that extra stability, extra protection, you can flex the right toes back toward the right knee. Might be a good thing to do anyway, even if you feel fine. Can kind of help with the engagement. And just stay here for 2 or 3 more slow, controlled breaths. With each exhale, using that hip to rotate the leg outward a little bit more. And we'll put that down. Now, if that exercise felt kind of challenging for you, or if it felt enough, you can skip this and go to the child's pose at the end. But if that felt fine for you, we're going to go a little deeper and do the same thing, but not on the wall. So you'll put your left ankle on top of your right thigh right now, and reach your hands back, grab the back of your right thigh. Breathe here, breathe in, and then breathe out to once again use that left hip now to rotate the leg outward a little bit. And what I don't want you to do here is I don't want you to use your left elbow to like ratchet your left leg open. You just want to grab the back of the right thigh with your hands and let your arms rest by your side. You may have been instructed before by someone else to use this arm to open the leg, and you know, there could be a purpose for that, it could be helpful, but I'm more of a believer in using the hip itself to open the leg, because that will help you really learn the muscle memory of having more open hips. I mean, maybe in another session I would teach it the other way, but here we're not going to do it that way. Here we're just going to hold the back of the right thigh, breathe in, relax the whole body, relax tension in the face, the neck, and the shoulders if you've built any. Breathe out, use the left hip to open the left leg. Still, maybe you want to tuck your toes back toward the left knee. And go for one more breath. And we'll switch sides. So now the right ankle is on top of the left thigh, reaching through, grabbing the back of the left thigh with our hands, breathing in to relax, release tension, breathing out, open the right hip, the right leg, engage the right hip to open the right leg, And maybe tuck those right toes back toward the right knee. It can be helpful here too, on the exhales, to very lightly squeeze the core to stabilize your back against the ground. You don't want too much core engagement here because it is supposed to be more about like the restorative purposes, but it can help to stabilize the body. Breathing in, relaxing. Breathing in, rotating the leg outward with the hip, the right leg, feeling a stretch through the right hip, maybe the right thigh. Maybe lightly squeezing the core for stability. We'll go for 1 or 2 more breaths. Slow, controlled. In the nose, out the nose. And we'll wrap that one up. So for our final pose today, we're going to do a child's pose. You'll start off in a tabletop position with hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. You'll bring the big toes together and bring the hips out, or bring the knees out wide. They don't have to be super wide, but a little wider than they were before. And then sink your butt back towards your heels as far as it will comfortably go. Your butt does not need to touch the heels, but if it does, cool. But once you get to the point where you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, walk your hands out in front of you and rest your head on the floor. Once again, if that's difficult, it's the kind of thing where you could get a pillow or something and put your head on that instead. But if you feel good enough here, you can put your head on the floor. I'm not going to have my head on the floor when I talk because then you won't be able to hear me. But you can rest your head on the floor like so. And just sink into this posture. With each in-breath, imagine the spine getting a little bit longer. With each out-breath, you might want to lightly squeeze the core and lightly squeeze the butt muscles to push the butt down and back just a little more. That would be the more active version if you want to make it that way. If you want it to be more passive, you can just totally rest and allow your body to be in this position, relaxing on both the inhale and the exhale. But we do want to keep the spine long. So even if you go for a more passive version, try to imagine your spine passively lengthening. It's lengthening through relaxation as opposed to effort. But if a little bit of effort feels good, you can go for that too. Child's pose is a posture where it's usually done in a restorative way, but you can choose to make it a little more active if it feels good for you. You can also press the hands and the forearms into the ground lightly on each exhale. It's another way to make it more active. I personally prefer child's pose to be kind of like a medium level of activity. So I usually don't go too hard, but I don't totally let go either. I put in a little bit of effort and make it kind of in between the two extremes. And you may want to do something different depending on the day. Maybe today's, you're really in need of rest and you just let yourself chill here. Or maybe it's a day where, you feel good engaging a little more and you want to do that. So choose that for yourself. And just stay here for 4 or 5 more breaths. Slow, controlled, in the nose, out the nose. Inhaling for about the same amount of time that you exhale. And I'm going to wrap up. If you want to stay in child's pose for a few more breaths, you can, or you can finish up like I did. And that's the session. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you are now feeling maybe a little less sore, a little more open up. Maybe the anti-soreness effects will take longer to fully take effect. So you might notice that you sleep better. You might notice tomorrow that you're less sore than you expected to be. But hopefully right now you feel a little more like free to move and your body feels a little more open. Like I said, these postures are great for the hips, great for the thighs. So, relieving soreness and resting there is definitely something a lot of skaters need. And yeah, that's it. Once again, my name is Ben. Thanks for watching the Sore Skater Studio, and I'll see you on the next video.